yesterday in this space. And so I'd like to go ahead and introduce our first plenary speaker this morning, and her name is Kenia Felix. And so, Kenia has been in the movement for several years. In this time, she's been a fierce advocate in asserting the dignity of all people by advocating for the human rights of survivors who are incarcerated and detained. Kenia holds the position of PRIA coordinator at the SURE Helpline Crisis Center, which is located in El Centro, California. El Centro, for those of you who don't know, is right along the Mexicali border. Kenia's work, her work is in 2 California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation facilities, 1 immigration detention facility, a county jail, juvenile hall, federal halfway house, and a reentry center. And that work really speaks to her belief in transformation and to her commitment to working on behalf of individuals that are often marginalized and forgotten by our society, and those are the incarcerated and detained folks. So please join me in welcoming Kenia Felix to the podium.
Hello, everyone. So I'm used to a different audience, right? I work with incarcerated survivors of sexual violence. And I need to crack this joke because I'm so nervous that I'd rather be in a dorm of 20 incarcerated survivors and without an alarm. So you imagine how I feel. A lot of the work that we do, we have come a long way in working with victims of sexual violence and in hopes to eradicate sexual violence. But this community has been very overlooked. It's been overlooked by systems and somewhat by services that these people need to heal. It is understanding that we have been very successful and strategic in finding different approaches to the youth, faith-based communities, and so on and so forth. But we have these prevention strategies now and before. What happened to all those people that were never able to receive these services, or at least didn't have the opportunity for many, many reasons? We know that mass incarceration, a lot of these folks inside, they committed a crime, they're paying their dues to society, but a lot of these folks are communities of color. People that look like my brother, like my husband, like me, and we have to be very, I want to find the correct word, but find ways and strategies to approach them. To approach them and to approach systems, because we know for a fact that systems, it's really hard to work with. I don't know if you guys think the same as me, but it's very hard to work with systems, and they have a culture and inmates have their own culture and they have their own politics. And we had to learn their language, we had to learn their experiences to be able to get through a group of inmates, detainees. And when I say inmates or detainees, it's someone that's not free to go, be it prison, be it county, be it immigration. We know that there's policies that are in place. I have my own opinions about those policies, but those facilities are there. And right now, I don't think they're going anywhere, especially with the current heated administration that we have. So we have to find ways to work with these entities. We have to come to the table and explain to them what our role is. Because if we don't explain to them what our role is, as it is in the community, they kind of don't want us around. So we have to be very specific in our role. They have the rehabilitative approach, but are they just locking them up and throwing the key away? Or are they really being strategic in the way that they're providing these people these services? We know that to get a survivor, for a survivor to decide to ask for services, is really hard. For them to disclose their horrific experiences, it's very hard. So imagine in a community where it's isolated and you have to find ways to survive. Yeah, that's when I started working, that's how I felt very quiet. But these specific groups, we had to, like I said, learn their language, find what the facility's needs were, understanding and explaining each role, understanding the corrections role. I remember in one occasion, and I called one of the PREA coordinators at the facility, and I identified myself. Well, my name's Kenia Felix, and I'm PREA coordinator with Share Helpline. Well, I'm the PREA coordinator with so-and-so. And I'm like, yeah, I called you because I need to approach you for some specific reasons. Well, I know PREA. Yeah, I know PREA too, and I'm here with the Rape Crisis Center so that we can make this work for your facility, because you're the one that has to follow the standards, not us. So then we kind of were on the same page. We were on the same page, and it's funny because they see me 5 feet, and you're like, nah, but I can cause some damage. So, and it takes a whole group, you know, to push those buttons, but it was done. It was very challenging at the beginning because I would approach officers, correctional officers, and ask them, oh, do you know who your PREA compliance manager is? What's PREA? Okay, let me explain to you what PREA is. PREA, and then we get these instructions when we're in the academy. But when you come to the facility, do you know where to go or who to go to? No. Okay, well, I encourage you to finding out who the PREA compliance manager is, because you're soon to have an audit. Now, auditors are going to be held accountable for their audits. So if something's not right in the facility, they're going to get stricter. We've been called out, luckily, we've been called out by the auditors, and if we've had challenges, we had to be very, very strategic in ways to approach it, so that, because we need to get our work done. We know that the need is there, so we had to find ways to get through these people. And keeping in mind always that they're there for the correctional aspect, the safety. But what happens to the aftermath of all the trauma that these folks have experienced, or females have experienced, or non-gender conforming experiences? Who addresses those? They don't go to mental health, because under their politics, because they have correctional standards that they have to meet, but they also have inmate politics or detainee politics. So how do you get through those? Consistency is key. We're doing everything we can to eradicate this type of violence, but we cannot pick and choose who we're gonna serve. If we really wanna eradicate, we need to go where the problems start, where we know that there's many traumas that were never addressed for, like I said, many reasons. So if a group of 10 people can get into all these facilities beyond the challenges, I think every rape crisis center can too. For the immigration population, these folks get assaulted on their way to the US. They flee sexual violence from their countries, and they don't care if they get assaulted, but they need to get somewhere to a safe haven. And the US is their safe haven. So if they're gonna be locked up because their only crime was to find a better future, they're willing to do that. They're willing to take contraceptives. They're willing to bring anything they can, because they know that the probability of them getting assaulted is really, really high. These people that are often criticized because they bring their children to the US, you know what? I have kids. And if I know that I'm gonna have to jump, because maybe on the other side, I know what's gonna happen to me in my country. But if I have to jump for a better future, guess what? I'm gonna jump, because I already know what I expect in my country. We're recognized as experts in trauma. Let's really execute these things. They're really important, and they're really important in these communities. Now we have a lot of, like I said, a lot of prevention, but what happens to those that never had the access to this? What happens? We're lucky that we have the Me Too movement, that there's a lot of the media, the exposure to the media, but what happened to all those people that are locked up before? Who served them? But yet again, you know, mass incarceration, and guess what? A lot of these folks are gonna be released in our communities. A lot of these folks are gonna be released in these communities. I'm doing my part, sure, Helpline's doing their part in our valley, in our community. But guess what? We don't only have people that are gonna be released in our community. We have people that are coming to LA. We have people that are going to the Riverside County. We have people that are gonna go to Sacramento because that's their hometown. And what the facilities that are in that area, who are they being served by? So I think this is a call to action. It's really important. We know that the PREA standards are there. We want to create bold moves, reflect, transform, and act. I think that it's time to act. And like I said, it's challenging, but use any tool that you have to your benefit, anything. And I'm gonna tell you right now, girls, guys, and everybody in this room, they're gonna get audited in November. I mean, in January. Their pre-audit is soon. So guess who they need to do to check that third entity box? It's not victim witness. It's the RCC, a third-party entity with privileged communication. I want to share something really quick. We served a survivor that had to be flown out because of the horrific physical damages and traumatic experience. When the advocate, you know, arrived to the hospital, and in the process of talking to this victim, no empathy whatsoever from the victim. And I can understand that, you know, disassociation is the best shield in those horrible moments. So, trying to talk to this survivor, we learned that he had been in prison for about 25 years, more or less, because he killed his rapist. And he was raped again. And his response was, what can you tell me that I don't already know? I'm in here, the system failed me, I'm in here because I killed my rapist, and you know what? I would do it again if I had to. He would do it again. And guess what? He had been raped for a whole week in silence by his cellie. So what really could I tell him that, or could the advocate have told him that would make him feel better? He was already serving time for killing his rapist, so. I'm like, dude, I texted him, I'm like, dude, you need to tell him something that is gonna uplift him, and I don't know what you're gonna do, but you need to be really strategic, because it was so easy to say, it's not your fault. And I am sorry for all of the horrible things that happened to you. It's not your fault. He proceeded with the forensic exam and was happy enough to be transferred out because his rapist was a shot caller in the facility. Has anybody seen the movie Shot Caller? No? Yeah? Good movie. I encourage you guys to see it because nobody's exempt from unfortunately committing a crime and being locked up. I'm a woman of color. I may look kind of light, but I know what it is to be called, oh, ahí viene la mexicana. And it's okay, I'll embrace that. As it is, we're marginalized, we're oppressed. Yes, things have changed, but they still exist. And unfortunately, this current administration is promoting in that beautiful platform they have, promoting all of this. So it's our duty, if we really want to eradicate sexual violence, it's our duty to step up to the plate and not pick and choose and serve every survivor. I can sit and talk about all of the challenges we've faced, and I get an adrenaline rush when I have to argue with the PCM, and it's okay, but now they understand that we're in charge of the aftermath and you're in charge of the security, and we both come to the table and we get work done. And if you have a question, call me. You have my personal cell phone, email address, you know where I'm located, so there's no excuse for not assisting a survivor in a facility. We have about 10 staff cleared from the immigration hold, from the state prison, from the county jail, and we've been able to escort ourselves, so we've gotten that far. We don't need an escort. We've been brown carded, which is a challenge we bypassed. But we're also programming in there, and one of our programs, one of our support groups, it's called Common Ground. And this is in appreciation, they drew this. I don't know if we can get a close-up on that, but why Common Ground? We had a coworker that had been incarcerated, and I'm like, dude, you need to come up with a name, because I don't know what to think of. Like, I've never been in that situation, you know? And after debating on what we were gonna name it, Common Ground came up. We're stepping on the same ground, guys. And I said earlier, we don't know. We're not exempt from being assaulted. We're not exempt from landing in a facility. So I think that my mom has a saying in Spanish that it says, nunca hay que escupir para arriba porque en la cara cae. You don't spit up because it falls straight to your face. We should do less of that and more of, you know, act. Well, let's not talk the talk, walk the walk. And they wrote in appreciation a lot of beautiful and encouraging things. And you know what? The facilities love it because their yards are super calm. Immigration facilities, upon intake, they give them our information. It's not just, oh, okay, you've been sexually assaulted. You can seek mental health services. No, they actually give them the pamphlet and say there's an agency that works strictly in confidential services. So my time is up, guys, but I encourage you and I challenge you for next year, bold moves. Let's really make those bold moves.